Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great start to your week. I know that a lot is changing in the economy, the world, the real estate market. So I wanted to take some time to do a video format this month just so that we can talk more about what's going on instead of just looking at slides and reading an email. So let's dive in. As always, let's start with slide number 3. This one talks about the activity in the market. So think of new listings as seller activity and under contract as buyer activity. First of all, this new listings number, this is way higher than what we saw last April. In fact, last April, that number was around 450. This month, it was around 600 new listings. Buyer activity, on the other hand, was down about 20% since last April. We had 288 homes that went under contract in the month of April. So what's really important to look at here is the difference between seller activity and buyer activity. We now have a 50% gap between the typical buyer activity and seller activity that we saw a year ago. So if you think back to an economy class, increased inventory, decreased demand for that inventory should typically mean that prices come down. Now hold that thought because we'll talk about it later on. One last number to talk about is we increased our inventory by 314 listings. We have seen inventory increase month over month for the last year or more, but not by this amount. That is a high amount. Next slide, we'll talk about the velocity in the market. The median days on market of the homes that are selling, and that's the most important part, of the homes that are selling and going under contract, 14 days is the median days on market. It's increased from last year, but honestly, going from 8 days to 14 days is really not that much of a jump. Now, I mention of the homes that are selling because let's go over here and look at some other statistics. So right now I am looking at this average right here is of the homes that are currently on the market in Buncombe County between the $400,000 to $600,000 price point. The median days on market of those homes is 43 days versus the 14 of the homes that have gone under contract, have not gone under contract. So essentially, if you go under contract, it's typically pretty quickly. If you are still sitting on the market, you probably have been sitting for a while. And this is quite a shift, at least in sellers' minds, from what we've seen, in the last decade. Typically homes are selling a lot more quickly than this, but it's because of that increased inventory. Back to slide number 4, months of inventory. We are now sitting at 4.6 months of inventory. That is nearly 100% more inventory than we saw last year. So I had mentioned back in this slide, we added 314 more listings than we took off, and we're feeling it. When we get towards 6 months of inventory, that means we're in a balanced market. Anything above that is a buyer's market. We are quickly trending towards a buyer's market just because of that increased inventory, and buyer activity has not increased in the same way that seller activity has. Next, we'll talk about pricing. Remember a couple slides ago, I mentioned that typically when demand decreases and inventory increases, price will come down. Well, it has come down a little bit, but it's not declining. It just isn't increasing at the rapid rate that we have seen. So if you remember to my previous videos, maybe 6 months ago, or pre-Helene really, I was talking about how we typically see an 8 to 12% increase in average sale price in this area year over year. Since last year, this number only increased by 1%. So it's not that we're decreasing in price. Again, we're just not increasing at the rapid rate. On average, homes are selling at 96% of current list and 94% of original list price. We are seeing a lot of price reductions. Sellers are getting very antsy from sitting on the market for 60, 70, 80 days, and we're seeing a lot of those price reductions. It's not necessarily that the homes are overpriced, but homes that are priced very, very competitively and very desirable homes are selling very quickly. And the people who are still sitting on the market might not get the price that they hoped because they are doing price reductions. And then inevitably the home will go under contract. So just to summarize, a couple things. I'll talk to buyers and I'll talk to sellers. Buyers, this is an amazing time. I am personally going to purchase an investment property in the next couple months. Inventory is plentiful. Hop in there, get a good deal on a home, a better deal than you could have gotten, and the best deal you'll ever get because the market is always increasing. Sellers, price your home very well. Be competitive in the market, entice buyers to go under contract quickly. Otherwise, if you don't catch attention quickly, it will sit for a long period of time and you will only just have to keep knocking that price down. I hope everybody has a great rest of your week. Contact me if you have any questions. Would love to chat. Thanks.